My roommate is such a double standard. He doesn't let anyone sit on his bed, yet he allows me to sleep in it. He refuses to take water from others, but he'll snatch the bottle I've already drunk from. I thought that's just how close friends in the city were, until rumors started spreading that the two of us were dating. I began avoiding him, but he cornered me against the wall, biting my lip hard enough to draw blood. He growled viciously, "Baby, try hiding from me again, and see what happens." Aiden Carter, the young master of the Carter family. Nearly 6'3", incredibly handsome, obsessively clean, and notoriously short-tempered. That's how everyone else describes Aiden Carter. But with me, he seems different. He doesn't let anyone sit on his bed, yet he allows me to sleep on it. He won't accept water from anyone else, but he'll steal the bottle I've drunk from. And no matter what, he's always so patient with me. I thought this was just how close city friends behaved. But yesterday, Matthew Moore asked me, "Evan, you and Aiden Carter are so attached. Are you two dating?" Dating? Can two men even date? I asked him, confused. Of course they can. You didn't know that. He stared at me in shock, like he couldn't believe someone could ask such a basic question in this day and age. I shook my head. I'm from a village. We don't have anything like that where I'm from. To be honest, there's a lot about H-City I don't know. When I first arrived in H-City, I didn't even know buildings could be this tall or this grand. Back home, if we needed anything, we had to borrow Uncle Kyle's tricycle next door and ride out of the village to the distant marketplace to buy it. I was so mesmerized by the dazzling and magnificent scenery in front of me that I accidentally bumped into Aiden Carter and his group of friends, who were leaving campus on their way to a bar. In my carelessness, I stepped on his shoe. One of his friends shoved me lightly, speaking in an unfriendly tone. "Hey, watch where you're going. Don't you have eyes? Hurry up and clean Brother Aiden's shoes." I quickly crouched down, flustered. But Aiden Carter reached out and helped me up. "It's fine," he said. He glanced at the luggage on my back and asked, "Carrying all that stuff, aren't you tired? Let me help you. Where are you staying?" He was so kind. I had stepped on his shoes, and not only did he not get angry, but he also offered to help carry my luggage. No, I can manage," I stammered. "It's no trouble. We're not in a rush," he said, motioning to his friends to unload the luggage off my back. Left standing there empty-handed, I watched Aiden Carter awkwardly, unsure of what to do. He raised an eyebrow at me. "If you don't tell us, we'll just have to keep standing here at the gate." Reluctantly, I answered, "I'm staying in Building 4, room 410. But they carried my luggage to the entrance of Building 5 and even prepared to walk inside. Panicking, I grabbed Aiden Carter's sleeve and under the curious stares of his friends, whispered nervously, I'm in Building 4. Aiden Carter explained matter-of-factly. "Oh, Building 4 is full. I already checked there earlier. The counselor said any new arrivals have to stay in Building 5. And that's how I ended up with Aiden Carter as my roommate. At the beginning of the semester, I had been worried about how I'd get along with my roommates. Who would have thought Aiden Carter was such a natural at making friends? We became close in no time. I felt lucky. But then Matthew Moore told me that men could date men, too. "We're just good friends," I said, looking Matthew Moore straight in the eyes and explaining seriously. He let out a derisive laugh. "Have you ever seen Aiden Carter treat anyone else like this? Why is it that he suddenly forgets his cleanliness obsession only when it comes to you? Don't give me that crap about how this is normal between friends. Look at his other friends. Some of them have known him way longer than you. Have you ever seen him act like this with them? I've been his childhood friend for over 10 years, and even I'm not allowed to sit on his bed. So, why the earth can you?" I didn't know how to respond. Sensing my hesitation, he sneered. "Evan Kelly, let me give you a piece of advice. Stay away from Aiden Carter while you still can. The Carter family isn't something you can reach for." That evening, after I finished my shower and came out, Aiden Carter had already saved a spot for me on his bed. I paused at the bottom bunk, but he pulled me up effortlessly, settling me between his legs. Taking the towel from my hands, he started drying my hair for me. Our roommates didn't even react. They were so used to it by now. But I couldn't stop thinking about what Matthew Moore had said. Pressing my lips together, I gathered my courage and finally spoke. "Aiden, I think I'll start sleeping by myself from now on." The second I said that, the room fell utterly silent. Even the guy across from us, who had just been cursing after losing his game, stopped mid-sentence. All we could hear was the sound of the fan and the air conditioner humming in the background. Aiden Carter's hand froze mid-motion, and he turned my face toward him, his expression serious, his brows furrowed. "Why are you saying this all of a sudden? Did someone say something to you?" I shook my head, unwilling to mention Matthew Moore's name. It's just, I think it's not really appropriate, and I can dry my hair myself from now on. There are a lot of things I can handle on my own. As I spoke, I lowered my head, avoiding his gaze. Aiden Carter's brows furrowed even tighter, and his eyes turned cold, sharp as a blade, like he was ready to kill someone. He had never been this harsh with me before. People often said that ever since Aiden Carter started hanging out with me, his temper had improved significantly. I had never seen him like this before, and it scared me. For a long moment, Aiden Carter didn't move. Trembling, I tried to reach for my towel, but he grabbed both my hands, holding them firmly, while his other hand roughly dried my hair. When he finished, he tossed the towel onto the desk and pulled me onto the bed with him. Aiden Carter wrapped me tightly in his arms, leaving no space between us. I tried to move, but he only held me tighter, to the point where it was hard to breathe. "Don't move. I'm really angry right now, and I don't know what I might do," he said, his voice low and icy, as if it were frozen solid. I didn't dare move. The entire night, I barely slept. It wasn't until morning that I finally drifted off in exhaustion. When I woke up, it was already midday. Aiden Carter's face was dark, and there was a fresh cut at the corner of his mouth. "Come here, eat," he said curtly. I quickly washed up and joined him, not daring to provoke him any further. It wasn't until the afternoon that I found out who he had fought with. Matthew Moore sat at his desk, his face bruised and swollen, glaring at me with venomous eyes. He must have thought I was the one who told Aiden Carter. If it really were me, I wouldn't be trailing after Aiden Carter now, trembling with fear. The icy aura surrounding him was a constant reminder of how furious he still was. So, when I came out of the shower that evening, I was at a loss. If I ignored him and climbed into my own bed, would he beat me up like he did Matthew Moore? But if I crawled back into bed with him, then what was the point of everything I had said before? Drying my hair, I stood hesitantly by the bed. Aiden Carter was lazily scrolling through his phone, but his eyes were locked on me, sharp and unrelenting, like a predator watching its prey in the forest. When Aiden Carter wasn't smiling, the corners of his eyes naturally drooped slightly, and paired with the sharp angles of his face, it looked intimidatingly cold. It was only 8 p.m., but all our roommates had already gone to bed. Still, I could feel their glances sneaking in our direction, subtle but unmistakable. As soon as I reached out to grab the rail of the top bunk, Aiden Carter's gaze turned sharp and piercing. Silently, I withdrew my hand, turned around, and walked toward his bed. Aiden Carter's expression softened immediately. I climbed over him to lie down, but the moment I settled, he pressed himself against me, wrapping me tightly in his arms. His head nuzzled against my ear and neck, sending tingling, itchy sensations all over me. I tilted my head slightly to the side. Suddenly, he bit my ear in frustration, his tone filled with displeasure. "Don't you dare dodge me." I froze and silently turned my head back. Satisfied, he began licking the spot on my earlobe he'd just bitten. His touch sent jolts of electricity through my body, making me tremble uncontrollably. But I didn't dare move away again. It felt like an eternity before he finally had his fill. Only then did I loosen the tension in my nerves. He leaned close to my ear, his voice low and husky. "It's a good thing you didn't sleep on the top bunk. Otherwise," as he spoke, his hand slid down to my waist, squeezing it gently. He didn't finish his sentence, but I could hear the unmistakable threat in his tone. My whole body shook like a leaf. Slowly, he withdrew his hand and tucked the blanket securely around me. I didn't dare ask what would have happened if I had chosen the top bunk, because deep down, I had a feeling the consequences were far beyond what I could handle. 3 days passed, and Aiden Carter seemed to have forgotten what happened that night, reverting to his usual self. But something was different. He often found excuses to touch me, yet whenever I started trembling in fear, he would stop. During these days, I ran into Matthew Moore a few times. Whenever he saw me, he'd immediately lower his head and walk past me quickly. I guess that Aiden Carter must have warned him to stay away from me. I held a bottle of water in my hand, unscrewed the cap, and took a sip. I remembered last time when I had brought the bottles of water. During a break in Aiden Carter's basketball game, he had come over to drink. When he reached for the bottle I had already drunk from, I casually took it back and handed him an unopened one instead. His face darkened as he picked up the unopened bottle, and he stubbornly made me take a sip first before he drank it himself. After that, it became a habit. Now, every time I handed him water, I would take a sip first. During the break, Aiden Carter walked straight toward me. The girls nearby erupted into excited squeals, whispering to each other. "Aiden Carter is so handsome." He ignored the noise entirely. Lifting the hem of his jersey to wipe away the sweat on his face, He extended his hand toward me. I immediately handed him the water. As he took the bottle, his hand accidentally brushed against mine. At that moment, I heard a girl say, "They look so good together." Her voice wasn't quiet, and suddenly, everyone around turned to look at us. Panic-stricken, I quickly pulled my hand back. Aiden Carter's face darkened immediately. I knew he was angry again. Sure enough, in the next second, he grabbed the hand I had pulled away, locking it together with his on the bottle of water. Without even blinking at the stares of those around us, he started drinking the water, his expression calm and unbothered. Our fingers were intertwined, inseparable. No matter how I struggled, I couldn't break free. The surrounding screams grew louder. All I could see was Aiden Carter's dark, brooding gaze, plainly conveying his current mood: unhappy, extremely unhappy. In the second half of the game, Aiden Carter played aggressively, almost recklessly. I couldn't help but feel restless. Tonight, I was definitely in for trouble. Sure enough, after I finished showering, Aiden Carter pinned me down on the bed. His hands began wandering over my body. "Don't, please don't," I pleaded softly. The more I tried to block him, the rougher he became. A stinging sensation spread across my stomach and chest. His hands didn't stop, his warm, heavy breath brushing against my ear. His voice was low and husky. "Don't what?" Even though the bed was covered with curtains, hiding whatever was happening inside, the sound could still be heard. Both of our roommates were in the dorm. I bit down hard on my lower lip. Just then, his movements slowed, and the sudden gentleness of his touch made my scalp tingle. But as he continued, his hand started moving downward. I immediately grabbed his hand, holding it tightly. "Don't, please don't." I clutched his hand nervously, turning to face him with pleading eyes, silently begging him to stop. "We're both guys. Why can't I touch down there?" I shook my head desperately, cold sweat breaking out all over me from sheer terror. He gently stroked my head, his tone soft yet carrying a hint of undeniable danger. "If I can't touch, then let me kiss you just once." His gaze lingered on my lips, the desire in his eyes so intense it was impossible to ignore. "No, you can't kiss me. It's weird," I stammered, turning my face away. His breath grew heavier, and without waiting for my response, his hand moved decisively into my pants. "Then we'll just keep going," he said. I clung to his hand tightly, tears welling uncontrollably in my eyes, my voice trembling with a hint of a sob. "Don't do this, Aiden. I don't want it." He paused, his gaze softening as he looked at me with a tenderness that felt almost suffocating. "Why are you crying? I'm not bullying you." He raised a hand to wipe away my tears and pressed my head against his chest. "Will you still avoid me?" I quickly shook my head. Taking my hand in his, he kissed it lightly before beginning to lick it. His tongue trailed from the gaps between my fingers to my fingertips, then down to my palm. My hand reflexively curled up, and an unfamiliar sensation coursed through my body. "If you don't want me to keep going, don't move," he said in a low, raspy voice. I dared not move. He kissed my hand until it was wet and glistening, then gave it a gentle bite before finally rolling off the bed and heading to the bathroom. I glanced at my hand, a strange thought crossing my mind. Aiden's actions reminded me of a dog marking its territory, claiming me as his own. To be honest, from what Matthew had said that day, and Aiden's behavior these past few days, I had already figured it out. Aiden liked me. His possessiveness toward me was overwhelming, almost obsessive, even bordering on unhealthy. I didn't know what to do, but I didn't dare provoke him. For now, all I could do was try to keep him calm. I had no idea what would happen next. His actions were becoming more and more excessive. With a sigh, I tightened my waistband a little. It wasn't until I drifted off to sleep that I realized Aiden Carter hadn't come out of the bathroom. The next morning, when I woke up, I noticed that the knot I had tied tightly on my waistband was undone. Panic-stricken, I looked over at Aiden. His expression was calm, devoid of any noticeable emotions. I let out a sigh of relief and thought to myself, maybe I was uncomfortable in my sleep and untied it myself. That evening, my mom called. "Hello, Mom. What's going on at home?" "Nothing much. Do you remember the little girl from the neighbor's family? The one who said she wanted to be your child bride? She got into your school. I just wanted to let you know that she's a girl living far from home and doesn't know anyone there. So take care of her. Help her move her luggage when the new students arrive in a few days." "Oh, okay," I replied. After hanging up, I started to feel conflicted. Should I tell Aiden? He doesn't like me getting close to other people. But maybe it's better to let him know, so he doesn't get upset out of nowhere again. Otherwise, I'll be the one suffering. When it was almost lights out, I still hadn't figured out how to bring it up. Then Aiden Carter suddenly said, "I'm going to the States for a few days, probably about 4. It happened to coincide with the new student orientation days, so I decided not to tell Aiden. After all, he wouldn't be here anyway. Okay, I nodded. Aiden Carter pulled me into his arms abruptly, sounding irritated. So annoying. For whole days apart. Why don't you come with me? I have to work my part-time job, I replied. Fine, Aiden said, his eyes dropping, disappointment evident in his expression. When I met Megan, she was panting and struggling with her luggage. I quickly took it from her. After helping her move her luggage into the dorm, I showed her around campus. H-City is so big, she remarked in awe. Yeah, there are so many things here we didn't have back home, I replied. Maybe because we were both from the same place, we couldn't seem to run out of things to talk about. The conversation flowed easily, and we had a great time chatting. That night, after walking Megan back to her dorm, Aiden Carter called. The moment I picked up, his furious voice roared through the phone. Who's that girl? I've been gone for less than a day, and you're already rushing to find another woman, aren't you? She's just a friend from my village. I hurriedly tried to calm him down. A friend? A friend that you smile at like that? Do you think I'm an idiot? Listen to me, Evan. Before I get back, you better stay away from her, or I'll ruin her life. You can try me if you want to see what happens when you truly piss me off, Aiden. Don't be like this, I pleaded, anger rising within me. I couldn't stand his words. Megan and I had both worked so hard to get here. Coming from the mountains where opportunities were scarce, girls like Megan, if they weren't exceptionally gifted in academics, would have long been raising children in the village. I knew how difficult her journey had been, but Aiden Carter could destroy everything we'd worked for with a snap of his fingers. Don't be like what? Evan, you know I like you, so now you're taking advantage of it, deliberately testing my limits. Right? You think no matter what you do, I won't actually get mad, is that it? His words stung, and I suddenly felt a wave of grievance. Aiden, you don't like me. You just want to control me. I'm nothing but your toy, I shouted, my emotions boiling over. The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. Aiden Carter had been so good to me. When I first arrived, there were so many things I didn't know how to use. Aiden never mocked me. He patiently taught me everything. He took me to watch 3D movies, eat Western food, go shopping, and have fun at amusement parks. He showed me how to use a computer, taught me how to use a smartphone, took me on a plane, and helped me on so many things. When others laughed at my English pronunciation, he stood up for me and defended my dignity. When he found out I was malnourished, he hired a nutritionist to create custom meal plans for me. And when I was sick, he stayed by my side at the hospital, sleepless, taking care of me. I quickly tried to explain. Aiden, I didn't mean it like that. Let me explain. The call abruptly ended, followed by a long, cold silence. Then, suddenly I heard a mocking laugh from the other end. Aiden Carter's voice was cold to the extreme. What's there to explain? He seemed completely enraged. Yeah, you're just a damn toy to me. So what, do you think I can't have anyone I want? Go hang out with whoever you want. With that, he hung up the phone. I immediately called him back, but all I got was the cold, mechanical voice of an operator telling me that the number I was dialing was currently busy. The messages I sent to Aiden Carter went unanswered as well. I thought to myself, maybe he really didn't want to deal with me anymore. After all, I had said such hurtful things. An unbearable weight settled in my chest, like something was lodged inside, suffocating me. By the time my 17th call was rejected, I knew there was no way to fix what had been broken between me and Aiden Carter. When we were friends, he was always so tolerant of me. Aside from not letting me avoid him or neglect my own health, he let me do whatever I wanted. We had almost never fought except for one time. I had overworked myself, then got caught in the rain late at night, which led to a fever that landed me in the hospital. When I woke up, the doctor suggested I stay another day for observation, but I kept thinking about my part-time job off campus. I also didn't want to spend more money on hospital fees, so I wanted to be discharged. Just as I was about to leave, Aiden Carter walked in and handed me my phone. He told me he had just called my boss to ask one day off on my behalf. That job had been my main source of income for living expenses and tuition since my freshman year. Although it was exhausting, the pay and hours were a perfect fit for me. At the time, my counselor had even subtly hinted that I couldn't delay my tuition payments any longer. I was the only one in the class who hadn't paid. So, during that period, I didn't dare take a single day off, fearing that the money I earned wouldn't be enough to cover my tuition. Even when I was sick, I forced myself to go. I angrily confronted Aiden. Why did you take it upon yourself to ask for sick on my behalf? Do you even realize how much I need that money? Aiden didn't understand. To him, health was the foundation for everything. If you need money, just tell me, and I'll give it to you. And that part-time job. I've hated it from the start. They're overworking you to death. That's pure exploitation. If you hadn't insisted it'd be wrong to go back on your word, I would have quit it for you already. That was the first time Aiden and I had ever fought. In the end, my anger boiled over, and I shouted, "You have no right to make decisions for me. I don't need you interfering in my life." Aiden snapped back. "You think I want to interfere? Fine, do whatever you want. If you don't care about your health, why the hell should I? Damn it, trying to help you is like throwing pearls before swine. Go ahead, ruin yourself for all I care." With that, he slammed the door and stormed out. Later, one of the nurses at the hospital said to me, "Your friend may look scary, but he's really good to you. You don't know, when your fever hit 40°C, he was practically beside himself with worry. He kept grabbing nurses, asking why the fever hadn't gone down yet. When you were unconscious, he watched your IV drip like a hawk, afraid it might backflow. He's also the only person I've ever seen here who didn't once touch his phone." I immediately felt a pang of guilt. My attitude earlier had been terrible. Aiden was just worried about me. If it weren't for him, I might have burned up in the dorm room, and no one would have even noticed. And it wasn't just that. When I had my fever, it was 3 a.m. Aiden probably hadn't slept more than a couple of hours, yet he stayed by my side the entire time. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how unreasonable I had been. I quickly took out my phone and called Aiden. After he rejected my call twice, he finally picked up on the third try, answering lazily. He didn't say a word, just stayed silent. "I didn't mean to say those things earlier. I'm sorry. Can you forgive me?" I asked. On the other end, Aiden's voice carried traces of suppressed anger. "Weren't you just telling me not to interfere in your life?" "I was wrong," I said softly. "Are you staying at the hospital this morning?" "I am." Aiden let out a cold snort before replying gruffly. "I'm buying fruit here. What do you want? Don't you dare say nothing. If you don't eat, I'll beat you." That was the only time Aiden and I ever fought, and it was a fierce argument. But even then, he was still willing to give me a chance to explain. Or maybe he never truly wanted to be angry with me. But now, Aiden wasn't answering my calls, and he wasn't replying to my messages. This time, he really didn't want anything to do with me. Back in the dorm, I sat on my bed and thought for a long time. Since Aiden genuinely didn't want to deal with me anymore, it didn't seem right for us to continue living in the same dorm room. So that very evening, I went to the counselor and applied to switch rooms. Maybe it was because I usually behaved well, but he approved my request quickly. After filling out a form in the morning, I started moving to my new dorm that afternoon. When my roommate saw me packing up my things, his eyes widened in disbelief. Stammering, he asked, "Evan, are you moving out? Does brother Aiden know about this?" No, he didn't know. But I figured he probably didn't want me around anymore anyway. That could count as silent approval, right? I nodded. He looked even more shocked, his mouth hanging open wide enough to fit a fist. Finally, unwilling to give up, he asked again, "Does he really know? If he doesn't, you should tell him beforehand. Otherwise, with brother Aiden's temper, I'm worried you won't be able to handle it." In that instant, it felt like I'd woken up from a dream. He was right. If Aiden got angry and decided to hit me, just one punch would be enough to knock me down for good. I wouldn't even be able to crawl back up. I needed to hurry up and move out. There were still 2 days before Aiden would return. What if he came back, found me still in the dorm, and locked the door to beat me up? I quickened my pace, continuing to pack my things as I answered casually, "Yeah, he knows." When I arrived at the new dorm, only one person was inside. He had a large, colorful tattoo covering his arm, was tall and muscular, and looked intimidating, like someone who wouldn't be easy to get along with. I greeted him briefly, and then cautiously began setting up my bed. He glanced at me from his seat, then suddenly stood up and walked over, planting his foot rudely on my mattress. "Aren't you Aiden's little sidekick? The kind of clothes where you two practically share a pair of pants. If I'm not mistaken, weren't you in the same dorm? What's wrong? Did he dump you?" His words made me uncomfortable. I replied sharply, "That's between me and him. It's none of your business." I pushed his foot off my bed and continued making it, but before I could, he grabbed my arm and pinned me down onto the bed. He grinned slyly, his eyes gleaming with a disgusting greenish light. "I heard from someone that you and Aiden have that kind of relationship. For him to let you stick around for 2 years, you must be good at something," his lewd, oily gaze swept over my body, making me want to vomit. I shouted back, "There's nothing between us like you're imagining. Let me go." He didn't move, his grin growing more vulgar. "How about this? Why don't you give me a try? I can pay you too. And I'm way more experienced than Aiden. I'll definitely make sure you. Before he could finish, I slapped him hard across the face, with enough force to make his head snap to the side. I remembered what Aiden had once told me. If anyone dares to bully you, fight back. You've got me behind you. They won't dare do anything to you. But now, he wasn't here. You. How dare you hit me? I'll beat you to death. His face twisted in rage, his eyes bloodshot with fury as he raised his hand, ready to slap me. I quickly shut my eyes, my body breaking into a cold sweat from fear. A blood-curdling scream rang out, and it took me a moment to realize that the pain I was expecting never came. That voice. I snapped my eyes open and saw Aiden raining punches down on the sleazy guy, one after another. The man didn't even have a chance to fight back, and was quickly beaten to the point of rolling his eyes back. Snapping out of my daze, I rushed to hug Aiden and pull him back. Stop. You're going to kill him. Aiden. Hearing my voice, Aiden's tense muscles suddenly relaxed. He carefully looked me over from head to toe, his tone low and dark. Where are you hurt? I shook my head. I'm not. Aiden let out a sigh of relief. Ignoring the man lying limp on the ground, he grabbed my hand and pulled me outside, leading me all the way to the university's famous dating spot, the Little Grove. I nervously clenched and unclenched my fingers. I couldn't figure out what Aiden's attitude was right now. He had been ignoring my calls, so why had he come to find me? Still, I was grateful he did, otherwise I couldn't imagine what might have happened. Aiden didn't say a word the entire way. His face set in a deep scowl as he led me to the deepest part of the grove. When we reached the wall, I hadn't even asked him why we were there before he suddenly pinned me against it. His right hand clamped around the back of my neck, forcing me to lift my head. And then he kissed me, fiercely and roughly. Just when I thought I might suffocate, he finally let go, giving me a chance to gasp for air. I slumped weakly against him, my body sliding downward. He caught me mid-fall, wrapped his arms around my waist, and held me tightly in his embrace, trapping me in his arms. It took a while for me to catch my breath, but just as I did, Aiden leaned in again, biting my lips and once more stealing all the air from my lungs. Over and over, he repeated this punishment until I couldn't hold back my pleas for mercy. Stop enough, Aiden. I know. I was wrong. I begged. He showed no expression, wiping my swollen lips with his hand. The sting from the pressure made me tear up involuntarily. Looking up at him with terror-filled eyes, I whimpered, "Brother, I really know I was wrong." He didn't stop, his tone flat and emotionless. Tell me, what exactly were you wrong about? I shouldn't have said I was just your toy. I shouldn't have moved out without telling you. And I shouldn't have gotten too close to another girl without letting you know. I poured everything out in one breath. He raised a hand, running it gently through my hair, his voice low and deliberate. Will you let me take care of you now? I nodded quickly. Yes, afraid he wouldn't believe me, I added, only you can. Earlier, when that sleazy guy had just brushed against my arm, I felt an overwhelming urge to vomit. It was then that I realized, not all guys were the same. When Aiden touched me, I was scared too. But it wasn't the same kind of fear. It wasn't disgust or rejection. It was a tingling, paralyzing sensation that made my scalp tingle, my toes curl, and my body feel like it was being gnawed on by 1,000 tiny ants. It left me utterly helpless and confused. It hit me, belatedly. I might actually like Aiden. Aiden responded, seemingly satisfied with my answer. In the moonlight, the sharpness of his face softened a little. Just as I exhaled in relief, he spoke again, his tone slow and deliberate. And what else? I froze, opening my mouth, but failing to come up with anything. As his expression darkened, I lowered my head guiltily. I don't know. He let out a cold snort. Don't know. You don't know what you've done. Last time, when you tied your waistband into a dead knot before bed. What? You think I can't touch you? So it really was Aiden who untied it that night. Then, why didn't you say anything back then? I asked him weakly, without much confidence. How could I dare to say anything? What right do I have? Do I even have a say in your life? His lips curled into an amused smirk. Who am I to you? Anyway, for a moment, I didn't know how to answer. He stared at me for a while, waiting for a response. When I didn't give one, the smile on his face faded. He let go of my waist, turning to walk away. Exactly. I'm no one to you. I have no right to interfere. Go ahead, wear cotton pants in the middle of summer or flip-flops in the dead of winter. It's none of my business. I won't care whether you're cold or hot. Wash your own clothes, dry your own hair. You've said it yourself. You can handle all these things without me. Do whatever you want. I won't care. Seeing him walk away, I didn't think twice before rushing forward and hugging him tightly from behind. I want you to care. He twisted around, pulling me to face him. Lowering his head, he looked into my eyes, his gaze full of teasing amusement. I have no title, no status. How could I care? Who am I to you? Even as slow as I was, I understood what he wanted to hear from me. Blushing, I lowered my head, unable to meet his eyes. I bit my lip and whispered, "Boyfriend." So quiet. Are you unwilling? You know, I hate forcing people the most. If you really don't want to, let's just drop it. His tone was half serious, half joking, but I panicked and quickly repeated myself. Louder this time, afraid he might really give up. Boyfriend. You're my boyfriend. His smile deepened as he leaned in to kiss the corner of my lips. I heard you, boyfriend. Aiden then helped me move my things back to our original dorm. When we got there, the sleazy guy had already been sent to the hospital. I glanced at Aiden, feeling a little worried. He gave me a reassuring smile. Don't worry. He won't show up in front of you again. I shook my head. That's not what I mean. I'm asking if this will affect you. He raised an eyebrow, the corners of his mouth curling up into a smirk. Worried about me, huh? I nodded honestly, making him chuckle. Relax. He won't dare. There's plenty of dirt on him that I can use if needed. At the time, I thought Aiden was just trying to comfort me. It wasn't until later that I realized it wasn't just words. 2 days later, that guy's parents came to the school to handle his withdrawal paperwork. When I returned to the dorm, my roommates took one look at my swollen lips and tactfully chose to remain silent, their expressions full of knowing understanding. I awkwardly stared at my toes. Aiden chuckled softly. What's there to be embarrassed about? Everyone in the dorm knows I've been treating you like my future wife. It's just you, with that thick skull of yours, who kept thinking of me as just a friend. He paused, lost in thought for a moment. You know, maybe I should send Matthew a gift. He's a vile guy with a nasty mouth, but if it weren't for him, you'd probably still think of me as just a friend, wouldn't you? At the mention of Matthew, I remembered his final words to me and couldn't help but feel a little down. Noticing my mood shift, Aiden asked, "What's wrong? You don't like Matthew? Then I'll go beat him up again tomorrow." I couldn't help but laugh at his comment. No, it's not that. I was just wondering, will your parents accept me? He let out a noticeable sigh of relief. I thought it was something serious. From the moment I first saw you, I told them straight up that I liked a guy. They've always known about you. Honestly, considering how obsessive I am about cleanliness and how bad my temper is, they're just grateful someone even likes me. The fact that someone can tolerate me and be with me is enough for them to think they're lucky stars. He said it so casually, but my heart still felt heavy. For my parents, it might not be so easy. They're like me. They don't even know two men can be together. Although I have an older brother, which means the family name won't be an issue, my parents still think that all their sons should marry and have children. Afraid he might misunderstand, I hurried to explain. But I don't regret agreeing to be with you. I didn't make this decision lightly. I just want you to know that the road ahead might be hard. Are you willing to walk it with me? He kissed my forehead gently. Of course. And earning your parents' approval is my responsibility. After all, I'm the one who led their son down this path. Don't worry. I'll do my best to win them over. I tightened my grip on his hand. We'll do it together. Not long after we officially got together, Aiden Carter and I moved out of the dorms. The house Aiden Carter chose was close to campus, so our daily lives weren't much different from when we lived in the dorms. By now, almost everyone at school knew about our relationship. Unlike before, I no longer avoided people or pulled away every time someone glanced at us, terrified they might misunderstand our connection. Now, we walked into campus hand in hand, the kind of couple others love to tease as disgustingly sweet. But one day, I saw Matthew. Without even thinking, my hand instinctively slipped out Aiden's. His face darkened instantly. He pushed me against the wall, bit my lip hard enough to draw blood, and growled, "Baby, just try hiding from me again." I wanted to cry. Great. Now I'd have to spend the whole night coaxing him back into a good mood. When summer break came, I took Aiden Carter back to my hometown. That very evening, I came clean to my parents about us. They were vehemently opposed to our relationship, refusing to give Aiden Carter so much as a kind word. Even so, Aiden showed up every day, cooking, doing laundry, sweeping the floors, planting vegetables, buying furniture for the house, and bringing my parents health supplements. He took them shopping and even acted as their personal chauffeur. He also brought snacks for the village gossip brigade at the entrance and chatted with them, ensuring they lost every round of mahjong to my parents. By the end of the summer, he had won over the entire village, And finally, my parents agreed to let us be together. Overjoyed, Aiden spun me around in circles like a child. Later, we lay together on the grass, our fingers tightly intertwined, gazing up at the same star-filled sky. His voice reached my ears, soft and filled with emotion. "Baby, I really love you." I smiled and responded, "I love you the same way." He curled the corner of his lips, his voice filled with suppressed laughter. "Then let's get married." The next moment, the night sky burst into fireworks. Amid the glittering display, Aiden somehow produced a bouquet of roses, knelt on one knee, and held out a ring. In the cacophony of the fireworks, he shouted, "Baby, will you marry me?" My eyes grew misty, and I shouted back, full of excitement, "I will." At that moment, the fiery passion of two young hearts crystallized into a tender, lasting kiss. Neither of us needed words to express how deeply we loved each other. A single look, a kiss born of irrepressible emotion, was enough to convey a love few ever experience.